Right, while the sale is still happening on the Inmotion World website for the V14, priced exactly the same as the V12S, we should talk about that. Because some of you are wondering, why on earth would you buy a V12S over a V14 right now? And I'm not going to try to talk you one way or the other, but I do want to go over some talking points to help you decide. Because it may not be as simple as you may think. Because initially you're thinking the V14 blows the V12S out of the water with every single spec. But if you look really closely, it's actually not bad at all. Or it's more similar than you might think. And you may be surprised to learn that the top speed, at least claimed by Inmotion themselves on their website, is actually 0.5 miles per hour higher on the V12S than the V14. The V14 is more of a torque monster, although the torque rating of 200 Newton meters is also on the V12S. So the main difference is going to be the motor size, or rather the motor max power. The difference between the V12S and the V14 is fairly extreme, as is the ability to climb hills. The V14 has a rating of 50 degrees. Whereas the rating on the V12S is, I believe, 30 degrees. So as far as that's concerned, there is somewhat of a difference. But most people, I don't think, are going to be going up 50-degree hills. I'm in San Francisco, and you'd be hard-pressed to find a 50-degree hill. And so, let's see what else. So the big comparison, okay, to make things short, is technology versus battery. Okay, the V14 has extensively larger battery, much larger battery, at I think 2,400 watt hours, or 2,300 watt hours, compared to the V12S, which is 1,450 watt hours. You're getting significantly more battery out of the V14S, but you're getting significantly more technology off of V12S. So the question really is, are you looking more at technology, or are you looking more at the battery size? Because performance-wise, for what people are doing this with, generally speaking, I think is going to be very similar. This V12S is rated at 43.5 miles per hour, and I accidentally hit 42 miles per hour without much issue. That happened to be my top speed of all time of any EUC, because I normally don't go that fast. But I was trying to take this on some more major streets and places I normally don't take it to see what it would be like, and it hit 42 fairly easily. I wouldn't recommend going that close to the threshold for this wheel or any other wheel, but it just goes to show you that it is possible, and the V12S is not an exaggeration as far as the top speed is concerned. It is a 84 volt wheel compared to the V14, which is significantly higher in terms of voltage, but it's funny how the top speed is the same. So how does the motor size or the max power differ, and why does that matter to you in general? Or specifically for use case, if you're going to be pushing it hard, like aggressively, just leaning really hard, then you're going to want more headroom. And sometimes the headroom doesn't have just to do with speed, but it has to do with how much aggression it can handle when you're riding the wheel. So with a with a V14, and you're taking it on trails, or you're just pushing really hard on the streets, you accelerating quickly, not necessarily to top speed, but accelerating quickly, you're going to have a lot more tolerance, a lot more headroom. Whereas with V12S, you are going to hit its limit a little bit more quickly, even though you may not hit a speed limit. As far as the PWM and getting up in that higher range will be much easier to do on a V12S. Easier meaning you'll hit the limit more easily, so you have less headroom on that. But as far as top speed and everything, another thing to talk about is also the suspension travel. The suspension travel on the V12S is actually 10 millimeters higher than that of the V14S. Sorry, V14. So it's not, again, the differences between the V14 and the specs is not as extreme as you think. For some more aggressive riders, performance riders, people who already have a wheel, obviously the max power is going to make a big difference and probably a deciding factor. But for people who are fairly new, I'll leave for another video. But for people who are new, I wouldn't recommend a V14 to begin with. But in comparison of the two, again, they're not that far off in terms of specs for people who are not looking to be really aggressive with the wheel. And I know I'm going to get a lot of conversation and discussion in the comments below, and that's totally fine. Share what your opinions below, and then we'll see what the conversation leads to.
Alright, I know most of you are like, I'm still not buying the V12S over the V14, but hopefully you learned a thing or two about the comparisons and how the V12S, despite the motor spec, a lot of other specs are actually very comparable or even higher than the V12 or V14. So anyway, enjoy, take care. We'll have a V12S full review coming soon. Just want to get this out there for some of you who are curious about it. Alright, take care, bye.